This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, January 14th, 2020, episode 261. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, you can visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Joining me as he does each and every week from the great state of Boise, Idaho. The weather here, Brian, is nice, but you are under the weather.
Yeah, I'm under the weather, and it snowed like crazy.
Wow.
Last night. So I woke up and there was like 5 inches probably of snow.
Shovel the driveway?
No, I haven't been outside. I haven't left anywhere.
What about your...
I stayed in bed all day, and then I got up and got dressed to do the podcast.
Wait, so what if like you needed to get out in a hurry? Your driveway is snowed in.
Well, if you get enough acceleration going, you'll just fly out into the street and you don't have to worry about it.
How long is your driveway that you can build up that
much?
It's
not super long, but the problem is it's like I have an angle, my driveway is an angle getting to the street. And so I'm coming out of my garage. So I've got all that traction. I'm just going to go flying out and then land in the middle of the street and slide into the vehicle that's across the street parked in the road.
That's a good idea. Now, Brian, before you do your intro, I must tell you, I told you last week, and I got a lot of messages about this. A lot of people doubted me. I said, hey, I'm going to write a blog for my website, dudeandit.com. Well, Brian, we have the most recent blog on the website, dudeandit.com, which is thanks for the memories, Windows 7, as today is the final day of that operating system's 10-plus year life cycle. So you can check out as I titled it, my 2 cents in... on my blog, dudeandit.com. Oh, shit. No, dudeandit.com. Dudeandit.com. Anybody else with an IT blog is a phony, and they've all been copying me since December 26, 2019.
Yes. Okay.
Dude of Tech.
Congratulations.
Yes, I like that.
Dudeoftech.com.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
butchered that big time.
How about if you want to find me on the internet? I won't be a dude of
not interested.
Dude in IT or whatever, but you can do at Boise Computer on Twitter. Of course, my blog biteoftech.com.
When's the last article you wrote? Oh, April of last year. Interesting.
Yeah. But I have posted YouTube videos since then. But if you would like to check that out, biteoftech.com. Also, make sure you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. And if you notice on the right-hand side, it says join our server on Discord. And that's a great way. Maybe you're thinking that we're missing some important piece of news. Well, we have a news channel that you can submit that to. And we'll look at that before the next show. Also, we have our Steam group, so you get a notification before the live show starts. You have to be sitting here on a Tuesday evening. You can go ahead and jump in and participate in the chat during the live show. If you want to watch live on video, we have channels on YouTube, on Mixer, and on Twitch. So you can use any of those platforms. And then after the fact, you can use any of our podcast forms. So that's on the lower right-hand side. They have desktop apps and mobile apps and just any kind of a podcatcher. You can use any of those links. They'll work for those. And then show notes now for 261 episodes of the show. So if you want to, maybe we discuss or are discussing an article, or maybe we have a video that we watched that you're listening and you can't see, you're more than welcome to jump into our show notes, pull that up while you're listening to the show. So I think that's about it.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, thank you for being here, especially now feeling great. I appreciate wouldn't that be something? We are 1 week away from our 5th year anniversary. If you were like, Brian's not feeling well.
I don't feel like it today.
Yeah, Brian's not feeling well, so we're just not going to do a show. That would be something. That'd be real something. So thank you for being here. Appreciate that. I do want to give a shout out to our friend Gadlaw, who literally seconds after we stopped the stream last week threw $5 at us on Twitch. So thank you, Gadlaw. We appreciate that.
I think he's showing his favorite part of the show when it's over.
When it's over. Because literally I clicked stop stream part. And I was like, oh, all right. I was like, thanks, Brian. And it was like whatever stupid noise it makes. So thank you to Gadlaw. We appreciate that. We actually picked up a couple new followers this week. Because, Brian, I streamed on Friday night. I said, this is a great opportunity. We're going to play a great survival game on Friday night. Yep. I'm going to use this opportunity to stream. I want to thank our friend Nisco, who kind of was poking the bear. Was like, hey, I want to watch a stream. I want to watch you guys play some gaming. Okay, fine. I'm, a capable individual.
We got this.
I update OBS. I get everything all set up. I set up our little graphics. I haven't streamed in a while to the Infection channel. And we are going to play Scum, which is a survival game. And Scum, in fact, it was. I tried for over an hour to connect to different servers and received a connection lost message on every single server I tried to connect to. I verified all my files. Nothing was corrupt. And apparently, this is a common bug that I was reading on Reddit afterwards. Connection loss. And the solution is to connect with a different IP address to create your character on the server, then turn your VPN off, and then connect with your regular IP. So,
sounds kind of strange.
Access.
Yeah.
But you played it for about 45 minutes. What was your experience of Scum?
Well, I pretty much went through all the steps that I discussed in the tip of the week last week, where I said, find 2 rocks, which is surprisingly hard because you're running around this map. There's rocks everywhere, visibly, but you go up to these piles of rocks and you hit search for a rock. Oh, can't find a rock. So you're just running from rock cluster to rock cluster. After about 10 minutes, I found 2 rocks. Then I was able to make a knife and, just kind of worked my way through creating various weapons and I wasn't really looking to go and find a bunch of loot. I just wanted to see the crafting system and everything. So I was able to go in there, create, various weapons to where I could defend myself. And then at the same time, who was playing? There's someone playing with us.
Joe. Joe. Wow.
Joe had gone through and had found a backpack and a gun, looting buildings and everything. But yeah, I mean, it was all right. I didn't really get into it because we didn't really get the goal together of finding each other and making a group and doing all that. So I don't think it really kicked off, but for me, it was working. It seems like they lowered the graphics on it. Do you remember when it first released? It seemed like the graphics were higher quality.
From what I saw from you guys, because I was able to watch you through Steam, I did see that. Yes.
Yeah, it just seemed like they lowered because before it had a much better environment look and it was much less pixelated. It seems like maybe for performance reasons they've kind of kicked it down, but it definitely wasn't as nice looking as I remember. So that's kind of strange that they would do that because I put everything on max. Like I put it on the highest settings.
The character creator, I felt like I kind of felt a little bit of a Conan Exiles feel. It had a lot of sliders to height, weight, different things like that, which I personally am not a fan of at all, but I know a lot of other people are. That seemed to work out well. Everything up to the point of connecting to a server worked for me. I was incredibly disappointed, and based on the fact that I was able to find Reddit posts titled or timestamped like hours before we played on Friday night, indicated that this was not a one-off issue. And with that being the case, it's tough. It's tough for a game to overcome this, Brian. I don't see myself ever playing Scum again, based off the last experience I had. I downloaded the game, which was a problem in itself because of Steam's stupid caching, where it starts and stops and starts and stops and starts and stops.
Yeah.
And then the game wouldn't freaking play after verifying files and everything. Very, very annoying.
Yeah. I can't say like you were trying that whole time.
Yeah.
Like nonstop.
I even checked. I went through my Windows firewall. I manually added the executables to my firewall exceptions. I did it all. I went above and beyond what a regular user would be willing to go and do. I turned off my backup. I even disabled my firewall. I was like, okay, I'm just going to turn the firewall off completely. It's the same thing.
Seems like this has to be a fairly recent issue, though, if it's something that just started popping up on Reddit and things.
Yeah, they broke it the last patch.
So it has to be one of their last updates, yeah.
Well, they did an update just before we played Friday night, And the post on Reddit was connection timeout bug. It was made a couple days ago. It says, update on the connection timeout bug when trying to connect to a server after creating a new character. This bug seems to have been introduced with the .3 update. I have found that this only occurs when trying to join a server with a newly created character. The workaround is to use a VPN at this stage, which allows the new character to join a server. After that character has been in-game, the server can be rejoined and playing without the need of the VPN.
That's just really weird. It's just a really weird solution that it really cares that much about what IP address you're connecting to it from.
Yeah, to create the character. This. Yeah, so it's some sort of blacklist or something that my IP got put on for whatever. Maybe originally it timed out, right? Maybe the first time my connection actually timed out, and it tags me as spam or as a fraudulent connection, and it does not let me create a character. I have no idea. But the fact that it popped up on Reddit indicated to me that this is something that more than one person is dealing with. And that's super frustrating. Because I've had 2 weeks now of shitty game of the week experiences, frankly.
Yeah.
DayZ sucked. We explained that on last week's program. I showed you all the little inconsistencies in the game and all the little quirks to even pick up things off the ground. And then Scum wasn't even able to join the game. Super discouraging. And it exactly goes back to our Christmas episode, Brian, which was about 3 weeks ago. This is why people don't play early access games. And this is why the early access,
that's why people are starting to get away from them.
All of the sexiness, all of the glitter and the shininess of early access is long dead. Long dead. Yep. And this is why.
There's too many polished games come out. I mean, my nephews have been playing. They play a lot of like Apex Legends. Mm-hmm. The thing just works. Yeah. And it's worked since day one.
Oh my God. That game, that is well underappreciated, how solid and stable that game was from launch. Yeah. One of the best launches I've ever played for a multiplayer game.
Yep. And then same thing, you have Fortnite, which just works, right? Very rarely do you hear about a great game-breaking bug in Fortnite. We just have other games that work every single time. And then we have early access where every other week, every other month, you have something that breaks it. And that's fairly common in the early access, especially open world survival. I mean, just remember what we put up with Just Survive.
Remember.
Well, I mean, it was a nightmare constantly. And most of these survival games, open world survival games, have been the same way. Just things work a quarter of the time or half of the time.
Yeah.
And then something is always broken somewhere.
Cab Beat says, I've got over 300 hours in Scum and never had an issue joining servers ever since launch. It doesn't appear to be a widespread issue, but it appears to be an issue that exists. And the fact that it happened to me, and I went on Reddit to find the post, and somebody posted it on Reddit, indicates that it happened to at least 2 people, and I can't imagine it was just 2.
And it sounds like it's people that created characters since, as they said, the 0.3 patch, which was in however many weeks ago. So if you've been playing this for a long time, you have a character that's created, you're just rejoining that character, you're not going to run into this bug.
Yeah. So that's the case. For mentioning about Apex, that game had the best launch the past 5 years. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Zombie Makerspace saying I had very few issues. I believe he's also talking about Apex. That game does not get enough credit. Now, to be fair, Brian.
Yeah, Donnie's pointing out, he's saying Scum did not have a great launch. He said you guys are crazy. I don't think we said Scum had a great launch.
No, I think they're talking about the past 2 guys. I think they were referencing Apex. No, it didn't. It had a crappy launch too, as most of these games do. But that's to be expected when you're dealing with a small studio and a small group of developers. No.
Yeah, I mean,
Call of Duty has that issue. It took me almost 2 hours to get into my first Call of Duty match on the day that launched. So,
yeah, but that's one thing is if you're looking at someone like Apex Legends, that's a pretty decent studio behind it. So if there is an issue, they'll have it patched within an hour. Now, when you have a small studio that's been working on baking a patch and getting a patch ready to go, and it's already taken them half a day to get that patch ready, and they roll it out, and then there's a bug. Then they have to figure out the fix for it, the 2 guys that are probably working on it, right? And then they have to get all the patch stuff redone, rebuild a patch, get it submitted. It's going to take them a day to get that out, and people have had to put up with a broken game for a day. So it's just the way it works.
So, unlike other people, Brian, we learn from our lessons here at Infection Podcast. We've never made the same mistake twice.
That's right.
Well, excuse me, 3 times. We've never made the same mistake 3 times. So this week, we are not playing an early access game. We are not playing a half-baked, half-finished survival game or a Battle Royale game. We are playing a very polished game, and that is going to be everybody's favorite, Rocket League. We'll be playing that this Friday night around 8 o'clock Eastern. The game is literally available on every game console, modern game console that exists, and PC. So if you have Rocket League and you'd like to join us, we'll probably do some 4v4s, and then if we have more than that, maybe split off into some online groups. And I don't know, we tend to do a little bit of pub stomping in Rocket League. We have a couple guys that show up that are super good, and then we go in and beat up
see if I can get my nephews to play with you. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in. So if you have that on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, PC, wherever you might have that, we'd love to have you. Friday night in our Discord is where we all get together, and you can find the link to that on our website, infectionpodcast.com. All right. Enough self-promotion out of the way, if you want to call it that. I wanted to mention a website before we start talking about news. A coworker of mine mentioned this to me this week. I'm sure you've used it before, Brian. The website is called isthereanydeal.com. You ever use this?
I've not used it, but I've seen it before.
So you go.
I mean, I've looked at it, but I haven't shopped and like actually picked one of these deals. And
so I'm sure everybody knows about this. I just found out about it, so I'll pass it along. So you go in here and you say, "Oh, I like Scum. Scum's a great game. I'm gonna look for Scum." And you say, "Oh, okay. Here is Scum," and because this game is a little bit of this is more of an indie game. It's not available on sites like G2A and things like that. But the coolest part I found about this is the lowest price that you can see. So it makes it very easy to go onto a platform and say, hey, I'm going to add this to my wish list because it'll go on sale for $14. That's probably their typical sale price. They talk about their historic low, which was in April of last year for $14 bucks. So it's a really cool website for that. You can search a whole bunch of games on here. And if you look at a more popular game like Ark, you can see all of the different platforms that's available on, the lowest price, the cheapest place you can get it right now. I'm not going to vouch for the legitimacy of all of these stores. I've not personally used any of them, but this is a pretty reputable website and looks to be pretty legit. So if you're looking for a game and you're wondering where you can get it cheaper than MSRP on Steam or Humble Bundle, check out isthereanydeal.com. Not a sponsor of the program in any way.
That's true.
I thought that was important to mention. Cool site, though.
Not receiving any money from them.
I wish, but we're not. Oh, they have a new alpha. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, check out this one. This is new.isthereanydeal.com.
Whoa.
Let's see, Red Dead Redemption. Let's see how cheap we can get this. Oh, wait, hold on. Screw Red Dead. No Man's Sky. Wait, how cheaply can we buy this game? The cheapest price right now is $49. You'd be out of your mind to spend $49 on that game. Just saying. No way. No way.
Probably it's not a bad game now.
It's not a $50 game.
Man, it might be.
It's not.
Yeah, if it were released at the current level of content, it would be a good price.
Yeah.
Like if on release, but it's been what, a year?
No, it's been more than that. It's been
a year and a half.
Probably closer to 2 years. Yeah, I would say so.
2 years maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now would not be the best.
Nevertheless, the game is old. It's a 2-year-old game. It's still not worth $50. I'm not saying that the game itself is bad, but it didn't come out yesterday. Red Dead Redemption you can get for $50. You can get Red Dead Redemption for $40. Red Dead Redemption is far better game than No Man's Sky and is made by Rockstar. There is no way this game is worth $50. I'm not saying it doesn't have $50 worth of content, but if you're comparing game prices to game prices, there's no way it's a $50 title.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, the the thing is on these, they can't lower the prices too much because they don't want. How are they going to have a sale? Like then, if they make the price $25, then people are saying, "I want it on sale for $5 or $10." Like so, they keep it up and then they just put it on sale throughout the year, and people can pick it up then. So just use the website if you're interested in it. You saw that the lowest price was like $20. Put a watch on it for $25.
That seems to be the plan. Yeah.
Yeah. When it goes down to $25, and then you can decide if you want to buy it.
There you go. Check it out. IsThereAnyDeal.com. All right.
One thing I was going to mention, I've been playing some Witcher. So Witcher 3. And I bought an interesting thing is I bought it on PS4 store for $14.99.
Okay.
And it comes with all of the DLCs and all extra content for the $14.99.
Is it like
if you buy the base
edition?
game, it's more than that. It's just the complete edition or something like that.
Gotcha.
And so it comes with the 2 DLCs and then all of the extra skins or whatever they happen to have with it. So that's on the PS4 store. But if you're looking at it, I know a lot of people have been watching the show and getting interested in the story. They do have that sale right now to where you can get the whole Witcher 3 series for $14.99.
It's been pretty astonishing to see the resurgence, I guess is what I'd call it, of The Witcher. This game is not new. The Witcher 3 is not a new game.
No.
By any stretch. I mean, it's newer, but it's not. It's hitting its peak players.
I mean, 2015 is when it was released.
Yeah, this is not a new game. I mean, it's a new generation game, but for it to be so popular right now shows the power of I guess gaming media in terms of gaming things on television. And I mean, as stupid as it sounds, look at what happened with Rick and Morty and that stupid McDonald's sauce.
Yeah.
Do you think about that? It was a joke, a little joke, not like it was a whole story arc. A single joke on an Adult Swim television show caused the largest fast food chain in the world to temporarily bring back a sauce.
Yeah.
That's just insane to see the influence.
Kind of shows you though, like gamers are an audience that's very large that I think people take for granted.
Yeah.
Because they generally do not unite that often. But
gamers unite.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen very often. And with the Witcher series, you've got all the gamers that are like, oh, that kind of gives me an itch to play it again. And then you get people that aren't gamers that are watching the show saying, this is really interesting. They start talking about their friends, and their friends who are gamers say, hey, it's based on a game. You should check it out. And then they do the smart thing of putting it on sale on a PS4. And it's like, oh, $15. It's right at that price point. It's like, why not? The whole thing is $15. That's cheap. I'll play through it. And then and the game visually still stands up on its own.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
graphics wise, story wise, I mean, it's done very, very well. So I think that people get in there and it's not like, oh, I feel like I'm playing an old game. It feels like a modern game. It's done very well and people enjoy it.
It's equivalent to a Red Dead Redemption style of game. It is a large, and a Fallout. It is a large open world game with extensive side mission stuff, side story stuff, and a very jam-packed main story. So it's not some, crappy push together game. I mean, this was CD Projekt's Red. I think it was their last game they released. I don't believe they've released a game since.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, unless they're getting ready to do Cyberpunk, but I don't remember anything coming out since then.
Nothing major, nothing in comparison to these other two games. So that's cool. I'm glad you're enjoying that, and I'm seeing a lot of people playing that, which is cool. Well, while we're talking about that, I've got another thing. Yes. Brian, I've completed a single player game story. I believe this is the first game I have actually played through in, it's got to be over 3 years.
Yeah.
It may be longer than that. I'm trying to think of the last campaign I played through completely. It may have been Firewatch, may have been the last game I completely played through, story-wise. I don't think I've played through anything else completely. I played a whole bunch of games to like 40%. I played The new old Doom from 2016. I don't know if you've played that yet. That game is awesome. I have not. Yeah, I did not, Dave. I made 30% through Red Dead, unfortunately.
And it was an awesome game.
Yeah, it was, but it was just stupid. But I played the Doom, Doom 2016 on PC, and let me tell you, if you have not played this game, Brian, you need to add it to your wish list. It's about a 9-hour story. I played it relatively slow. I was going and looking for the little secrets and whatnot. I would say a 7 to 10 hour story, and banging soundtrack, super amped up, like hands sweating, heart racing as you're like all these demons are attacking you.
It's really, Doom 2016, really good game. You said?
Yep, Doom 2016. I got it for $5 over Christmas. It was on sale on Steam for $5. So I don't know if I'd spend $60 on it, but for $5, it was a fantastic game. I really, really enjoyed it. Super cool mechanics. I actually played it with a controller on PC, and let me tell you, flawless. No issues. I plugged in my little Xbox One dongle that I have, and the second I touched the controls all changed over, and I played the whole game with a controller, and I had a really good time with it. Really, really good game. Add it to your wish list. And the new Doom comes out in about 3 months. Doom Eternal. And so you'll probably see this on sale again before that comes out. So there's Nick. I'll give one of these about every 3 years. A game I recommend playing. Doom. We'll see you in 2030.
About every 5 years, he'll recommend a game he's actually played all the way through.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2050.
The last one was probably was your
I can't
Firewatch probably.
I can't think of the last single player game I played through completely. Isn't that bad?
Firewatch.
I had to have played something between then. There's no way it was Firewatch.
I don't remember you saying there's a game you actually beat since then.
Now, to be fair, most of the games I play do tend to be multiplayer, so that I don't play a whole lot of single player games to start. So that kind of. Do you want to know when I played Firewatch? March of 2016. That's probably the last game I played.
So it's about, as I was saying, it's about almost 5 years ago now.
Huh.
That's why I said the last game that I heard you. Remember you saying you played all the way through was Firewatch.
Miscreated. There's no story on Overwatch. There's no story. PUBG. There's no story. No story. No story. No story. No story.
Yep, I think it's true.
There's no story in the Worms games.
No.
Oh, no. GTA was before that. I did that. That was the second to last game I completely beat. GTA, and that was a great story.
GTA 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep, beat it on the Xbox One.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a poser, Brian.
Well, every 5 years. So 5 years from now, you can beat another game.
You know what? Let me tell you this before we get into the news. Something about the 8 to 10-ish hour story, I really enjoy. I don't know, something about that I really enjoy it, because I can see the end, right? Not that Red Dead Redemption's a bad game, but I knew the entire time I was playing Doom that the end was near. Like I could see, like I was like, okay, the game is going to wrap up here.
Yeah, it's building up to the end.
Yes, and I appreciate
Doom tends to do that though. They usually kind of ramp up to where it's just like, you can tell you're about to get to the final boss or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I like that.
Generally been.
And what I did is I think I played it in 4 or 5 sessions of an hour to 3 hours, depending on the length of the session. And I would just play through it at night, start at 7 or 8 o'clock, play it for a couple hours, and then, go play something else or go to bed. And I really liked it. It was I enjoyed it. I was very much on rails. Did not have to do a lot of thinking on where to go. It was very clear where I needed to go, and I played through it, grinded through it, and it was good. So,
well, I'll keep an eye out for another game that maybe you can actually finish, and then we can double your record.
If it's I can. I'm competent if it's interesting.
That's the thing, is you got to have one that has a really good story and that's not just crazy. Like,
well, Doom was crazy. That's what I liked about it. You literally just run around and shoot things. I mean, it's fantastic. Yeah,
I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which just is like an endless game.
Yes, it never ends.
There's so many expansions now, and I've been playing through, and it's just I've got like 60 something hours into it, and I feel like I'm nowhere near the end. And my nephews, they've been playing it, and they both are grinding out because they had a kind of like a competition between each other because they just were down to the last couple of bosses in it. And so this over the weekend, they cleared out like all the guys that you're supposed to find, and it's just like, oh, that's crazy. And it just made me realize like how much farther I would have to go. And I was like, that's not even my concern. So, but The Witcher, though, I have played The Witcher 3 through to the end of the story before the DLCs. So really, I'm just kind of playing it through as quickly as I can, get to that point so then I can have some new content.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Far Cry games, which are very similar to Assassin's Creed.
Well, you get a very repetitive, and the same thing with Assassin's Creed. You get to that repetitive stage of where they just add content by making you do the same thing 20 times.
Yes.
So I think that's what gets frustrating.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That's Brian and Nick's game bonanza. Thanks for joining us. I played another game this week, Brian.
Yes.
And we talked about this last week, 2 weeks ago. And I believe the title of our program and our comments we made were taken into good consideration. It was episode 259 of Infection Podcast, and the title was Expectations. And we talked about a new project called Z1 Exceed, which is another one of the H1Z1 Just Survive revitalization projects. We've seen a couple of these come and go over the past 2 years or so. These have been really kind of popular, and this is the most recent example. And you and I had a conversation about managing expectations and how people think, oh, because we see assets that, you can pull off of ForgeLight and import into Unreal or into Unity, you've got a game. The game is done, right? Because it looks like H1Z. It's got the look, but as you have got a whole lot more experience than this than I do, you explained how the look is like 5% of the equation, and 95% is the animations, the netcode, the engine, all of these other interactions, the gunplay, all of those things that you can't just scrape out of the engine. It's very easy to move the graphics in comparison to some of the other things. So,
yeah,
in the last 2 weeks, I've been chatting with the developer a little bit on Discord, and over the weekend, they released, Brian, a public download. It was a Google Drive download of the game, of their beginning of the game. And it's the governor's mansion, which they have ripped out of ForgeLight and partially put into Unreal, which this is Unreal, right? That's the Unreal model.
This is Unreal we're seeing right now. So
this is part of the governor's mansion. As you can see, it's not fully textured. It's not fully done. But as Judd points out, the lighting isn't good because this is literally just the what would you call this that they pulled out? The mesh of this part of the world.
But this is part of the work that goes into that isn't going to be carried over automatically is the lighting settings and all the sky stuff to make it feel and look like what you're used to seeing. So this was a little bit of that. All that was in there was the governor's mansion. There actually is a full control. There's a menu which actually allows you to adjust different settings and whatnot, field of view and whatnot. I don't know if all of it works. The key binding works because I had to adjust some key bindings. And this is this. Now you'll notice when you walk through the front door, Brian, you walk through the door.
Why?
Yeah.
Can you explain to our viewers why you are walking through the door and you can't interact with it?
Well, I mean, first of all, since they only brought in the physical meshes, they haven't, as I said, done any of the interaction code. And so for you to be able to go up to that door and open it, they'd have to code in that, you see that it's a door there. There's a collision thing either indicating to open or an interaction box. And then you go up to it, press E to open. They haven't done any of that. So rather than having to code in and fix doors at this point, they just make it so there's no collision on the door, so you can walk through them and still go into all the buildings.
Yeah.
That gives you an idea of where they're at code wise, because that would probably be one of the first things that you would do, is make it so that you can actually open doors.
Yeah. Now the message that I got from the developer was, he said, remember, this release is to lower hype. We would not release this otherwise. We know everything is not 100% yet. Enjoy. And this is, I think, what we talked about, managing expectations. So you allow people to go ahead and download this EXE, which is cool. A guy says, whoa, cool. It is cool. It's cool to be able to run around in the H1Z1 world. But I think this puts to rest the idea that this is a quick process, that this is an easy process, that this is something that we'll be playing later this year. That it's not going to happen. Just based on where we are right now, which is part of the governor's mansion being in the game. It's not the whole, I mean, it's not completely done. The whole inside of the house isn't even assetted. So, this is a good reality check, which I think is great. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And this is the thing, is they're not promising crazy things. I mean, they're seeing what they can do. I'm sure that they would love some help if people are into game development. The part that they're getting ready to do is the hardest. And it's going to take a lot of time. And if someone really wants to see this done and they have some experience with animation, they have experience with coding. I mean, this is C++, which is what Unreal uses, then offer to help them, because doing all those little things is going to take them the longest amount of time, and it's going to be the most difficult. It's easy to get this to look close.
Yeah.
They'll need to bring in the trees, place the trees in the places where the trees go. But the rest of this is going to be the really hard part, that if they don't get it just right, people are going to complain. Yeah.
Now, I did get a message, and I didn't hear back if I should or shouldn't show this, so I'm going to. Since we showed that on Saturday, here is, or maybe it was Sunday, here is the kitchen that they're kitting out. Now, if we look back at the video I showed, if I can get back to that point, the kitchen was a kind of a skeleton of what it was. Why can I not find when I went through the kitchen? Here we go. So you can see that's what the kitchen looked like in the game right there. It had just, a couple little boxes. That was it.
Now those aren't they making some, I think I remember them mentioning they were making some custom assets.
Yeah. So that was just some random assets. And then this is their version of the kitchen, which is not pulled directly from H1Z1. This is not what the kitchen looked like in H1Z1. So there's one shot of the kitchen. Here's another shot from the other side, and then a third shot in front of the refrigerator. So making active progress and working towards it, which is cool.
I mean, this is a fun little project to do, but I mean, they can't make money off of it. Just people really need to realize this is not going to be a game they're buying on Steam and probably playing in mass at maybe any point. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I appreciate the development team over there understanding. And when I say this, I'm not saying it to toot our horn here, Brian. I'm sure they didn't release this because we talked about it on the program, but we're not the only ones that feel this manage expectations thing. This is felt by thousands of other people that played H1Z1. And we've seen so many sky in the high projects we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and you never play a damn thing. And within 2 weeks of them saying, hey, we're going to do this, we've got something you can at least run around it. If nothing else, Brian, I can go back in the future, because I still have it on my computer, and run around Governor's Mansion. That'll be cool. Nothing. There is nothing wrong with what they're doing. I appreciate them understanding how people are weary, and as the developer said here, this release was to lower the hype, to kind of set everybody square. This is what we have. So before you think you're looting Pleasant Valley with your friends in base building, we don't even have working doors or lighting.
Yeah.
So that's the status of the project. Super cool. They have a Discord server that's super active. It's got over 2,000 people in it. They just passed that today, I think. And you can find the information on that z1ex.com. There's a downloads page. You can download it, run it, and run around yourself. And it's an executable that you run with part of the engine files. So it's cool. It's nice to see. And as Judd says, nothing wrong with the passion project. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll keep tracking it going forward, and we'll see what they end up doing.
Yeah, let us know what your thoughts are on it. Speaking of H1Z1, there is a little bit of news here about Battle Royale. It's not really news, but there's been a huge uptick in players over the past couple of days. Now, 2,000 people are currently playing the game, and we'll do a full rundown on current players towards the end of the program. But Brian, if you just look at the 1 month totals on this, you can see we went from 400, 300, 400 players to 5,000 in the past couple days. You look at the 3-month chart, we are at an all-time high. You look at the 6th-month chart, we're at an all-time high. You have to go all the way back to... Man, you got to go further back than that. You have to go all the way back to March of last year to see similar player numbers in this game. So
do
pretty
you know
significant.
why, though?
Yes, I do. Do you know why?
Well, a Twitch streamer streamed it.
Yes, and
obviously.
They're doing a tournament.
Yes,
and they're
so
doing.
I could just see that the Twitch viewers spiked really high, and then the player count matched.
Yeah,
a little bit afterwards, it lagged it a little bit, but seems to be that every time they did their Twitch streaming, that the player counts jumped.
Yeah, you were talking. The Twitch viewer count was like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 concurrent. And then because of that, you get 600, 700, 800 more players come, and then 1,000 more, and then you've got 5,000 people playing the game.
And what do you think is going to happen after this, though?
Nothing. I think
it's probably going to go right back down to what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think what I wanted to bring up with this was not the fact that a whole bunch of people are playing the game, but that so Brian, if you sent me a message on Discord or Skype and said, hey, so-and-so is playing H1Z1, I'm going to jump in and play for a little while. Do you want to play? If you sent me that message, I would unequivocally, without a doubt, say yes.
Yeah.
Because you and I played H1Z1 ages ago, and if you said, hey, I'm going to play some H1Z1, do you want to play? I'd be 100% in. And I think that's what I wanted to illustrate more than anything else, is I would assume most of these players, not all of them, but most of them are playing right now because one of their friends saw somebody streaming it on Twitch and said, hey, Brian, why don't you come play H1Z1 with me? Come on, it'll be like old times.
Yeah.
That's what
I think. Well, plus, when you're watching somebody play this, like it kind of stirs up like, oh, that looks fun.
Yeah, of course.
And at least for a little bit, you go and you'll play it for a little bit, and then, maybe then you remember why you quit playing is usually what happens with us. And then we're like, okay, we got that out of our system. That's why I just think after this is done, people will be like, all right, it's the same H1Z1.
Well, and that was the other point of this as well. There have not been any major improvements between March of last year and today for 5,000 people to be playing the game. It's simply the fact people's friends are playing it, their friends are playing it, their friends are playing it, their friends are playing it. And then the next thing you know, you have 5,000, 6,000 people playing your game for the first time in over a year. So
yeah,
that was all I wanted to point out. And I think it's great. I think it's fantastic that people can go back and play this and still enjoy it. The only problem is I saw some people tweeting, some old H1Z1 people tweeting, oh, I'm so glad that these people are back. Come on, folks. You realistically think there's going to be 5,000 people playing this game next week? Not a chance.
Yeah.
It'll be right back down to 400. Cool for a couple days, great. I'm rooting for it all the way. But this game has not made any major improvements. This game has not made any major changes to say, hey, here's a whole new player base. There was no big update that happened this week. They haven't done an update in months there's been no updates. We're actively working on it. In my opinion, they're just keeping it up to date.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, this hype will work for a little bit. People will play it, but this isn't going to motivate them to put a bunch of work into it either. I mean, I think they'll very quickly realize, all right, this is a temporary spike. It's interesting to see, but I don't think it's going to motivate them to really actually make this a priority again.
Yeah. And it probably shouldn't, because changing your whole philosophy on the game because a couple thousand people all of a sudden randomly show up, is stupid. It's the same. That's the same decision making that put us in the situation we're in right now.
Yeah, let's go with what the mob wants. That's not going to be here tomorrow.
Exactly, which is why why we are here right now. So
yeah,
there you go.
All right. So, do you mind? Let's talk about some other things here really quick. Console related topics.
I mean, if you want, yeah, sure. Whatever.
So there's one thing, I don't know if you remember this, but I had kind of said this, and I think I got shot down a little bit. But I had said, well, why do you think that the Xbox...
have a clip? Do you have a clip to prove this?
I could find it. It's like three weeks ago, I think.
I don't remember that at all.
Okay. I said, why don't they just make the next Xbox more like a PC?
Yeah,
because they're about the same. They're about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the rumor is now that the Xbox Series X is going to have Steam and the Epic Store in it, because it's pretty much a PC. Because all of the games that Microsoft's been releasing for their store has been pretty much across their Windows games that they're releasing on Xbox, and it's all in the same pass. It's all the same thing. Just makes. And I said, do you think the next one is practically going to be a PC?
Yes. So it's going to have a mode called the Windows mode, which is going to allow you essentially boot into Windows 10, and it will essentially be a PC. So there's a couple things with this. First of all, it's interesting that we talk about something on the program. I'm not saying that Microsoft changed their decision making because of this program. That is not what I'm saying. But it is funny, Brian, that you allegedly said that a couple weeks ago, and then all of a sudden Microsoft says, hey, this is a great idea. Let's do this. I'm not saying it's related, but it's, it's
you never know. You never know, right?
Crazier things have happened.
I hear that. This
is what people are telling me. People are saying this. Yeah, I'm not saying it. People are saying this.
People are saying that we say things on the show and then major studios follow suit.
Yeah. The Z1 Exceed project does some things. Microsoft. I mean, we're kind of a big deal. But this is what. So this console is going to realistically cost $500. That's typically what the launch. It may be more depending on the launch price of the console. So the question's going to be, and of course the PC audience poo-poos this because they are stupid people and are miserable, always miserable about gaming. I don't know why. The question is going to be, Brian, are you going to get because this is also an Xbox, are you better off spending $500 on an Xbox or $500 on an Asus bottom of the line laptop?
Video card?
No, well, not yeah. Well, of course.
I think you can buy a $500 video card nowadays. The thing is if they can tune this, here's something in game development that maybe people don't realize. On PCs, when they make something, it's very tough to really truly tune it to make it where it's optimized, because you're dealing with so many different pieces of hardware. hardware that you don't even know exists yet, right? And so they'll release stuff, and it just never, compared to the hardware, it's never quite the same as like what the console gets. You look at these consoles, that's really old hardware, yet they're getting something that's fairly close to the PC. It's, for what it is, very close to the PC experience.
The average PC experience, right? We're not comparing it to an RTX 2080 Ti and some the average computer. Yeah,
but if they can release an Xbox that's a PC that has pre-known hardware in it, to where they can then optimize those games, say, hey, optimize them for this hardware. You can have a fairly cheap PC gaming machine like this that's going to run these Windows games pretty well, as long as they're in this program, as long as it's kind of like an Xbox Windows game. So I don't know. I do like the idea of, and I have for a long time, having consoles kind of get closer to a computer. But the main thing that comes down to is knowing the hardware. They can't have it to where you're constantly able to swap out any parts. It has to be, there's 2 video card options for this Xbox, whatever it is. So they can tune that experience to that specific hardware to where you'll actually get something that's good for $500.
It kind of seems like a no-brainer. Because I don't think the PC that you'd buy for $500. Now, I know I've seen the videos from
the experience.
Well, I've seen the Linus Tech Tips videos where they go on eBay and buy, some Dell Optiplex or a Lenovo Idea Center for $160, buy a $80 GPU and put a $300 video card in it. That's not what I'm saying this is. But if you can go out to the store, Brian, and part of the thing to understand with this is not that it's just a PC, is that you also are getting a full Xbox with it. Now, if you have no interest in the Xbox, then this conversation is not meant for you. But if you're a college student living in a dorm where you do not have a whole bunch of space to live, you do not have a whole bunch of space to set up a big gaming battle station, Brian, this is a perfect thing. You can play your PC games with your friends still, and you can play NBA and other games on the Xbox with your buddies. This is if it turns out to be true and turns out to work pretty well, you put it in the book. This will win Microsoft the console war if this turns out to be exactly what it sounds like it is. It'll be a no-brainer. You'd be a jackass to buy a PlayStation. It wouldn't make any sense. The launch title.
So you're saying that this will win Microsoft the console war,
if it in fact is what we are reading, which is essentially a full Windows 10 operating system where you can run whatever apps you want and play games and everything else, and it works. That's part of the key. This will definitely win Microsoft the console war. I mean, would you? How great would it be, Brian? Instead of having to buy a big bulky laptop to travel with, you could pop this thing in a bag.
Well, and
hook up a keyboard and mouse, and now you've got a PC to go. I don't want to rip my actual computer out of my whole setup here.
Yeah, I think this kind of matches up a little bit with their new thinking that they've done since Windows 10, where they're not looking to change everything all the time anymore, right? Windows 10 before this, every however many years, they released a new operating system that would just turn everything over on its head. You'd have to redo all these programs. You'd have to do a fresh install of Windows cons, every time. And it just, because upgrades never seem to work right. Now they're getting to where they want it just a Windows operating system that works. Now, whether they're accomplishing that or not is up to opinion. But I think here, the same thing. They're less concerned about having, something that's crazy and different. Like, it's okay to have Windows. It's okay to have a computer and an Xbox. They're not competition from each other. They shouldn't be. Microsoft owns both sides of them. Like, why are they that concerned? Yeah. And I'm sure that they'll put something in there to where if you purchase off of one of these other platforms, maybe they'll possibly get a cut of some sort. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they're working something out as well to make it to where there's some incentive for them to do this.
Now, this is a rumor. It's not been confirmed by Microsoft, but I think this will be this is fascinating because I don't think anybody was. I know you said that a couple weeks ago. I don't think you really thought this would have happened on this generation. I don't think anybody did. I didn't think. I really did not think we were there yet.
I just thought it made sense to start going that way to make it to where they're practically the same machine, because they are. I mean, there's very little separating them. Yeah,
it does make sense, but these companies like Microsoft and Sony they have to be proven wrong a lot of the time before they make the right decision. So I was thinking we've got a whole nother generation before they realize, oh shit, we are actually getting our cake eaten by the PC gaming community. Let's finally build a new console in 2026 that is a PC and not 2020, which is, this console is going to be out, Brian, in like 10 months.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing that I think kind of spurred my thought on this is that the new builds of games, I don't think are really that much different. Like, they're not really having to do that much work anymore like they used to make a build of a game for Windows versus a build of a game for Xbox. I think they've been like narrowing that gap to where it's almost the same thing.
Microsoft has put a lot into that this past generation, making it so that Xbox and PC are relatively easy to develop for. That's why, in my personal opinion, you see a lot more of the early access games, Atlas, Arc, existing on Xbox, either way before or, forever on the Xbox over the PlayStation, because it's just so much of a different architecture. This is super exciting for me as a console fan.
I mean, you'll get exclusives to PS4 just because a lot of times you have to develop it purely in PS4 with some of the engines and things that they're using. But I think you're going to see less of there's actually an article on this, less exclusives to Xbox. First of all, because they're not going to be exclusive to Xbox, they're going to be on Windows. They're going to be on PC as well. Like, why would they now release anything that's purely Xbox? Because their real competition is PS4. It's not. They can just as much be a part of the PC gaming, so they don't need exclusives. Release it on PC, which they can sell it on the Windows Store, and then release it also on the Xbox, and then just say, all right, it's not going to be on PS4. So that's part of the console war.
Yeah. There's an article over here at Ars Technica that says Xbox Series X won't have next-gen exclusives for a while. Article's a little bit misleading because of what you just described, Brian. The whole idea that these games will be available on cross-platform as well, so they're not technically exclusives. And it does talk about that the console is the new PC kind of thing. But I think this is great.
Yeah, and we'll see.
I'm excited.
If they keep going forward with it.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see once they release, because I think both of these guys are being very tight-lipped. Both companies are being very tight-lipped about these features. We keep hearing rumors, but I think they're hoping that, like, the information when they're finally ready to release it is going to be like, oh, that feature that makes it worth buying that console. And I think both of them are going to have those kind of carrots that they're putting out there for the consumer of, here's the reason you need to buy, the Xbox, or here's the reason you need to buy the PS5. I think we're going to see that, but I don't know which of these rumors and things that we've been hearing, which of them are accurate and which ones are those carrots. Like, this could be the carrot for Xbox currently.
Well, and as big of a thing as this is for the Xbox, we have heard virtually nothing about the PlayStation 5 yet. So I would imagine that they've got some tricks up their sleeve as well. If it's maybe some sort of streaming thing, or I don't know what you'd call it. They're gonna they can't just come out and release a regular PlayStation 5 if in fact Microsoft is doing what they just described.
Well, I think that PlayStation is going to more be counting on the streaming service, because if you look at it, they don't have the advantage of having an architecture that's practically Windows. Microsoft has been doing this in the background without a bunch of people really noticing. But we've got, Judd is bringing up The Last of Us. The games that currently are only on the PlayStation How do you get that to PC? Well, you have to run a streaming service, which it'll be interesting to see how much they're really counting on that streaming service to be able to reach out and get beyond their console, because Microsoft doesn't have to do that. As you're seeing, Microsoft can just release it on both, very little effort. If you want to play it on your PC, you can. If you want to stream it, you can. If you want to play it on your console, the PC version of something, you can. And then they'll also have the ones that are native to the Xbox. So that is definitely something in their favor coming into this console war, that I think we'll have to see if the streaming is enough to make it feel like you're not losing out by not being on a Xbox.
There you go. And with that, real quick, before we move on to some actual gaming news, Sony confirmed, I believe it was yesterday, that they are not going to participate in E3 again this year. Last year, they bailed on it, and they're doing their own PlayStation events, and then they confirmed a Sony Interactive Entertainment spokesperson. She said today that after thorough evaluation, we have decided to not participate in E3 2020. They have great respect for ESA, the people that put it on, but we do not feel that the vision of E3 2020 is the right venue for what we are focused on this year, which I found interesting. So
what are they focused on this year?
Well, so they say that it says we have built upon our global event strategy in 2020 by participating in hundreds of consumer events across the globe. Okay. Our focus is on making sure fans feel part of the PlayStation family and have access to play their favorite content. Clearly not the case with the Predator game at PAX, but we won't go there. We have a fantastic lineup of titles coming up for coming to PlayStation 4, and with the upcoming launch of PlayStation 5, we are truly looking forward to a celebration with our fans. So what this appears to be, and this is articles over at the games industry website, over the past couple of years, Sony has been kind of pissed that E3 has been more of an industry event and not a PAX.
Not so consumer focused.
Exactly. Which PAX is a consumer event. A bunch of fans go. E3 is, just until like 3 years ago, you couldn't even buy tickets to E3. The only way you could go to E3 was to you have a letter from your editor and be a reputable blog or YouTube channel or website. But Sony wants it to be more of a fan event, where currently the ESA has it more of an industry. It's more of like a industry trade show than it is a fan show. And Sony would, I guess, rather spend. And by the way, it's not cheap. Sony's spending hundreds of millions of dollars probably on, if not high tens, hundreds of millions of dollars on E3. I mean, they're renting out an entire venue. They're building an entire stage. They have to have all this staff brought in. They have to produce all the video. I mean, you're talking about an incredibly expensive event to put on. So I said this
with that kind
ago,
of a cost, it makes sense just to do your own.
You'll do your own, and then show up to PAX. Rent a couple booths like they did it for PAX East, PAX West, PAX
South.
Allow
hands-on play.
There you go.
That seemed to be their big focus, was hands-on play. I mean, they didn't have a bunch of just empty space showing off, fancy things. As far as like trinkets and things like that.
Like Google?
They were, Google had a bunch of open space that really accomplished nothing.
Yeah, it looked cool.
But then if you look at what PlayStation was doing, they had it to where they just had tons of areas to play, tons of places to try the VR, tons of places to try the console games. And that was what they focused on, an opportunity for you to sit down and try one of the games. Yeah,
which I really appreciated. So E3 continues on the downswing, and pretty much Microsoft is the only one left. Nintendo left years ago. Sony's gone. It's Microsoft, EA, Ubisoft, and Bethesda, I think. I don't think anybody else does no other major developer does a show or publisher does a show.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with it in the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, do we want to do one of the game giveaways?
Yes, absolutely. What do we got?
All right, so if you type !giveaway in chat, this will be a 60-point raffle. So if you've been listening or watching for the last hour, you should be able to enter into this. I'm going to be giving away a copy of Deadlight Director's Cut. And so, let's see. I'll put a link to Steam if you want to check that out. But this is Deadlight Director's Cut. And this is a game that currently is about $12. Has mostly positive ratings. It's a action-adventure zombie platformer 2.5D game. So
very cool. And if you're not, maybe you're listening to this after the fact and wondering, oh man, I want this 2.5D game. You can join us live. We're here live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on our Twitch channel. We're live on Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer. You can find all the links on our website, infectionpodcast.com. All right. Let's see. Gaming news. We've got a little bit of it. There was a new trailer, Brian, for a game that we have given great criticism to as of late, based on their lack of I don't know what you'd call it. They said they were going to release a trailer. They released a trailer of a trailer that showed, was it like 8 seconds of gameplay?
Yeah, I think it was about 8 seconds of actual gameplay.
And then the actual trailer was just a guy running around like with like a stick and didn't really show anything either. That was Last Oasis, which is a Da Vinci style Mad Max sort of game. But it's an MMO.
Interesting concept.
Very interesting concept. Beautiful looking from art, from the what would you call it? The like art previews of it are very beautiful. Yeah. All of the animated video that we've seen, the pre-rendered stuff, looks amazing. There's these like big worms that come out from the ground and eat your ship up. It's super interesting, but I've seen a lack of actual in-game footage. Now there's a new 45-second trailer here. I actually did not watch this before the show because I wanted to have my initial impressions here on the program. So here it is. It's a new trailer from Last Oasis. All right. So what we pretty much saw there was a, I don't know what you'd call that. It's kind of like a sizzle reel is a good word to use. Kind of a sizzle reel of the game. It's like, oh, shows a thing, survive, another thing, crafting. Does that make you feel any better about the game compared to the last couple of videos that we've seen from Last Oasis?
Well, I mean, this at least is gameplay, right?
Okay, true.
So you can see that there are vehicles that are actually working. There was a crafting. They showed some building, base building. They showed what looks like, I don't know if that's like the process of building one of these big machines. Kind of hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they've got these big machines that you can make it. So they're showing some of it in action. They're showing that there's going to be like buildings and things that you can loot and run through. It has very much a feel of Conan, like some of the menu items and things that some of the things I've seen,
Conan.
have a very similar look to Conan.
Yeah, which is Conan's a very popular game, but do you want to play Conan with, Da Vinci monsters that roam around, right? That's kind of the question.
I mean, what's really going to come down to is how good is the combat. I think that's what this game is really going to come down to.
Well, if it's like Conan's combat, it should be great because Conan's got some banging combat.
Yeah, but they haven't done moving. If you look through the trailer, let's see. I'll try to find a time.
You're trying to look at yeah, I know what you're talking about, right?
Where he's swinging. So right about 29 seconds.
Yeah, right after this.
So there's the part where it shows he's, I think, hanging from some sort of a rope, while, yeah, right here, like that's very difficult to do right, to where it feels like you're not just swinging wildly at the end of a rope, and where it actually feels like you're swinging on a rope, not just have it to where, oh, I push this direction, I go there, right? That kind of stuff, having it to where if you're trying to take over this big creature, like that you're actually attaching to it, you're flying onto it, and that feels like a seamless activity that works. That's going to be difficult for them to do.
Yeah. Dave Baker in our YouTube chat says, wonder about some animations. They show an axe swinging a tree and then it cuts away and cuts to a different tree falling over. Yeah, movie making magic is is in full effect on trailers. And this is nothing new, by the way. Every game trailer does this. So there are always gross misrepresentations of the game. It's called marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
But I just, from what I've seen so far, it looks too similar to Conan. Now, I will say, Brian, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember when everybody said that Conan was too similar to Ark?
Yeah.
Turns out to be nothing like Ark. It does not feel like Ark, doesn't really act like Ark, completely different.
They'll have to create their own unique feel for this. And I think the main thing that makes me think of it is the menus. I look at the menus and kind of how they have the armor. That just reminds me of it. They're going for some similar, melee heavy combat focus, which that's what Conan has. But if they can make it feel like, if they can get, for instance, these vehicles to really work and just feel like, hey, this is a really important part of the game, that's something that's unique enough to where people will stop comparing it to other things. So it's got that hook. It's got that thing that is it, if they can pull it off.
And we've seen the popularity of this is a very Mad Max style of game. We've seen the popularity of the Mad Max movies and games recently. You've sung the very high praises of the Mad Max game.
So I really enjoyed
it. And this would be kind of an open, because the Mad Max game isn't really, it's Max not multiplayer, is it? It's single player.
No, single player.
So this is this could be a multiplayer version of Mad Max.
Yeah.
Possible.
In that style. And this, I think with this, the Da Vinci creatures, I think that is something that works very well. If people look at it and be like, oh, that'd be very difficult. Well, that's probably easier to make things like this than it is to make giant creatures that move like realistic creatures. Yeah. Because these are very methodical. They're very computerish. Like you turn this thing turns this one way. Like it's kind of like a cog. You know what I'm saying? It's a cog, and it's much easier to design these. Now, making it to where they take damage and pieces break off. We'll see how much they really go into that aspect of it. But I'm surprised that we haven't seen games go and try to make things like this before, because it's really not that crazy of a concept. I think it's much harder to make an animal that, a giant animal move to where it looks realistic than it would be to this.
I would agree. Dave over on YouTube says it could be an inexperienced director on this trailer. I would assume that it's just one of the guys that works there.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that there was a budget for this trailer. This is a small studio developing this game.
Yeah. Well, and we'll see. I mean, I'm very interested. This is one of the games I'm very interested in seeing how they do, because there is hype behind it. I feel like they're not going super crazy with the hype, as far as I haven't heard them promise anything ridiculous. They're starting to release a little bit of gameplay stuff, which is good. It's good that they're not doing all cutscenes up until the point of release, because we've seen that happen too. It's like, oh, this isn't the game that you showed. Well, yeah, it is. It's the cutscenes.
Haven't they delayed this though already 2 or 3 times?
Yeah, it's been delayed. So I think they're finding it harder to release the game that they envision than they anticipated, which is not usually how it goes.
But it's not a problem, to be clear. That's not a criticism. I don't have an issue with delaying a game to make it good. I'm just it's an important. I think it's an important part of the story. If you're delaying a game, that means you either are unable to do what you need to do to make it, or it's taking a lot longer. Probably the latter, but nevertheless still interesting.
Yeah. Well,
so there it is.
And we'll see once they release it and people see that, because we know what first impressions do. I think they realize if they release this and it's broken day one, people will move on. There's not the patience that I know we've talked about this a lot. The patience is not there for early access anymore. You have to release something that's good day one.
Yeah, and God, I'm an idiot. I can't believe I didn't mention that when I was talking about Doom. That was what I liked the most about Doom. There was no bullshit, Brian. It was there was no bugs. There was no glitches. There was no...
Yeah, just work.
There was nothing. It was the whole game. 10 hours of the game was flawless. No issues. I never fell out of the world. I never glitched out of the world. I never fell through the ceilings. Monsters never got stuck in corners. It was the most refreshing thing in the world.
Yeah. Well,
so
we'll see how this one goes.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully we'll get a chance to play it.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to mention is Arma 3 is free to play on Steam for the next 4 days.
Wow.
So this was announced today. So if you want to try Arma 3 and you haven't, you can go onto Steam, download it. It's a pretty big download, but and then they're doing a discount. I think it's 70% off for the base game, 66% off for the DLCs.
Good price. $9 for the game.
Yeah, so it's going to go the 14th through the 20th. It'll be free. So if you haven't gotten Arma 3 and you think it might be a game you're interested in, or maybe you want to try some of the mods and all the things that they have, you have 4 days to try it. Now, and if you like it, buy it at a discount.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, a lot of what Arma is some of the DLC. So make sure you do. If you're like, oh, I want to get Arma to play X mod, make sure you investigate beforehand and make sure that the mod you need isn't also part of a DLC pack that you did not buy. So just something to keep an eye out for, because it can be a little confusing.
Another thing is the Darwin Project, which we've talked about. We were the first to see them. About, yeah, at PAX. They have now, I think, released out of their official, alpha stage. There's a launch video.
Yeah, we
was from December 17th. Yeah,
it's weird.
So we played that.
They didn't release any news today, but PH posted in our Discord yesterday. The January 13th was the release date, and that was the day. That's when they announced they were releasing it. But they haven't put out any news today, so I thought that was kind of peculiar. But I just wanted to.
So version-wise, they came out, but
yeah, version-wise they came out. And I just it's always nice to see when games kind of make the leap from early access to, still in early access. I get it, but all intents and purposes,
feature-wise, it's generally complete. Yeah. All right. ROE, which is a game we talk about on a regular basis, they have put out another patch. This is their January 9th, 2020 that they put out, and mainly they enabled an adventure character. They do a lot of unique looked characters now. It's been kind of their thing. They have these videos or these vehicles that are really unique and characters now. They've done a really good job of adding content like that into it. They did 3 kind of gameplay fixes on this, and then they've also been trying to get their DX12 client, so their DirectX 12 client out there, and they've had to add pretty much video cards one by one, once they get them ready. So now they've released 4 different video cards that now support NVIDIA cards that support DirectX 12, and it will automatically select your graphics options based on the hardware configuration, and then a list of bug fixes. So they're still continuing to put that as another game that's been released, but they're continuing to improve it. They must be doing, making some money off of it still.
Can I ask you a question?
They have a season pass system, things like that.
They do. Why is there such an issue with DirectX 12? I don't remember this happening with DirectX 7. 7 to 9 was the last big one, right?
Yeah.
Why is this being such an issue?
Well, it could be their game engine.
But everybody's doing this. So many games are like, now with DirectX 12 support. What's the difference between 9 and 12 that
Unreal Engine didn't have DirectX 12 support right away. I mean, so it could be that they're getting that whatever engine they're using is now supporting it, and so now they're turning it on because it's not automatic. It just doesn't happen. So
okay, you have to do things a little bit differently to support DirectX 12?
Yeah, you have to build. You have to go and implement certain things and then build it,
Okay.
properly. And they originally were making it for something else. Now they have to do a new build and put in the configuration settings and the options for it to use DirectX 12 or fall back to like DirectX 9.
So it's not a toggle. Like it's not like, oh, DirectX 12, DirectX 9. They have to actually program things into it to make it work.
Yeah, to take advantage of the new technologies.
Gotcha. So, okay, interesting. I did not know that.
So, all right. So that is ROE. Elite Dangerous.
Oh,
this is a game that I really enjoy, and me
too.
I think I said this a long time ago. If I was on a deserted island, and I had to pick one game, I think that this is one of those games that I picked for that, because there's so much content and there's like an endless amount of stuff you could do. But they put out their January patch, and this is them kind of going on a they've changed up their patching schedule a little bit, but this will be coming out today. So this patch that they announced actually gets released today. Should have been done earlier this morning, and they had some downtime from it today. But they are doing a lot of balancing and tweaking and bug fixes. They have made some changes to like the conflict zones, the way the exploration works. They do kind of bigger patches. They do a lot of stuff at once because they have a pretty big economy and just all these things that are relying on one another. So I think they do a lot of testing behind the scenes and get it and then put out one big release. So if you're playing that, you might want to check it out. But they've been improving the conflict zones and just some of the newer features that they put out recently. So check it out. That's their January patch, and it should be live as of the time that you're either watching or listening to this.
Coolio.
Apex Legends, which we talk about every once in a while, they are doing an event where it goes from today through the 28th. So for the next 4 days, they're going to have a limited time arcade mode where so that they have it to where it's a bunch of different modes, limited time modes. So every 2 days, including familiar ones that you've already seen, plus new ones that they're going to be implementing into this. They're having challenges, so you can get arcade points and get rewards from those through the event. And then they have some things that you can directly purchase. And they have a list of all the different events they're going to be doing for each of the days. So for today, they have Gold Rush Duos. Then tomorrow, actually today and tomorrow will be that. Then the next 2 days, Live, Die, Live. For example, 2 days per game mode, so you can try about a bunch of the new ones. And then bug fixes, and then some changes to various characters.
Why do they put this stuff on their help desk? That is always,
I don't know. The way that they do these patch notes are just horrible.
Because it looks like a
blog post.
Microsoft TechNet.
They never put like images and nice formatting. Like it's
because it's freaking blog. It's a forum.
It's a forum. Yeah, I think it has a limited amount of stuff that they can put in it.
I mean, I feel like I'm reading through a guide on how to set up a SFTP server on Windows Server 2012 or something. It's like a step-by-step guide.
Yeah, I know.
It could be
kind of a
so
mess.
much prettier. I mean, like PUBG, right? When they do these blog posts, they got all these high-resolution images. In EA's, I mean, it looks like it looks awful. It looks terrible.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not going to play the game because of this.
Okay.
I'm boycotting Apex Legends because of their
patch notes.
Yeah, it's on answers.ea.com. Yes.
All right. Now we haven't gotten paid this episode, so we better have some epic news here.
Yeah, and by the way, money's tight. Q1, Brian. Money's always tight in Q1, so we really got to work for our epic
for our dollars. Yeah. So one thing that they I'm sure a lot of people say, oh, how can they prove this? But they're saying they have 100 million users currently in the Epic Store.
Yeah.
So, and the one thing they did mention is they're going to be continuing to do the free games through 2020. So I know that they did that without any kind of promises initially, but they're going to continue. I mean, I've got quite a number of free games using that system, but they're going to continue to put those out. And this is something as well. Do people think 100 million users?
Yeah.
Do you think people think that is where they were at?
No, but the key thing to note here is that Fortnite is part of these 100 million active users, and Fortnite is by far the most popular game on the internet. Yeah. So while it may sound like 100 million people are using the Epic Store, I would say
what portion of that is purely
85% of them are only playing Fortnite, maybe even higher. So it's great, and they can put out a headline like this, and it's, you ever been on the subreddit Technically True? It's technically true, but how true is it? Right? If 85% of your player base is only playing your free-to-play Fortnite game, can you really say, wow, we've got 100 million active users on our store? That's kind of bull.
But Fortnite, this free-to-play Fortnite's one of the top game earners of all games.
It is.
Now, one thing they said is that one generated 680 million in revenue, Fortnite. We talked about that last week a little bit. Of that, Epic says 251 million represents sales of third-party games. So the Epic Games Store did $680 million in revenue. 251 million of that was third-party games. So 400 and whatever million, 20, 30 million, right, is Fortnite.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
Over almost $500 million.
Yep.
So
it said it kicked in $23 million in coupons and discounts towards game sales. Was its cut of all those various like discounts and things.
Yeah. So cool numbers, nice shock headline, but not really accurate. There's not 100 million people buying games on the Epic Game Store. That is not even close to being true.
But you could say that, $251 million in sales would be an
well, and it's accurate because they all have Epic Store. They all have Epic accounts. So I mean, it's technically true. So yeah, but unlike Steam, right? Steam doesn't have. I guess they do have games like Team Fortress and Counter-Strike and things like that, but Epic started off with Fortnite. Then they were like, hey, let's build a store around this game, right? Because that was the old Epic launcher was what? Unreal Engine, Fortnite, Unreal Tournament, and like one other game. And then that was
the MMORPG, or no, it was the
was it Paladins?
No.
There was the game they had. I don't remember what it was called. But there was like 5 things, and then they decided
it was their MOBA. I'm trying to remember what it was.
So they had most of this user base and then built a store around it. So it's not super accurate to say Paragon. It's not super accurate to say we have 100 million users on our store, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But what do I know? I'm just a stupid old
video game journalist.
Yeah, I'm just a video game journo. What can I say?
So there you go. We'll have those links in there if you want to check them out. But that is just some of the recent things with Epic.
Now, you do laugh about that, Brian, but I will say we do get media badges for PAX every year. So I mean, we've got some level of journalism. I mean, they literally don't just give the press badge out to everybody. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get.
Yeah.
So I mean,
we're kind of journalists. All right. So Xera, they have released an update. They have their 5.11 update. And a lot of this was removing all of the Christmas items from the map because everybody's Christmas events were going on. So all of those have been turned off now. So if you go back into Xera, it is going to be pretty much your normal game again. So check that out. Rust.
I'm a little sad about Xera.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. It's a small team. Just have to see if it continues to improve and if players gravitate. It's hard to get into the market right now.
Yeah.
Right now is not a good time for early access games, small indie studios. There's just too many big games out there.
Agreed.
Too many things pulling people's attention. There's a video for us. Do you want to play that? It's a Shadowfax video.
Yeah, what is this? Is this one of these? Is this just a weekly?
It's a shot, yeah, because they didn't put out official patch notes, but he, having his inside sources, is able to access information that we don't.
All right, let's take a look at our video from our buddy Shadowfax, and then we'll be back right after this.
New year, new decade, same old Rust. And still no pies. Greetings, survivors and friends, Shadowfax here, and I'm back with your weekly slab of Rust development news, now that the team at Facepunch have finally dragged their frog boots back to their workstations and deciphered the post-it notes they left themselves last year about what they were supposed to be doing. Ah, yes, that's right, modular cars. According to the commit, it seems like more horsepower than ever is being dedicated to this one now, and the vehicular fruit is hanging lower and lower. It still seems to be taking longer than designing and building an actual car, but maybe, just maybe, we'll be driving around in them next month? I don't know. Seriously, I still have nothing concrete to say about it. Talking of which, there is something else kind of related that's being worked on at the moment and may well be getting done in preparation. You might remember that before the close of the last decade, I mentioned a ring road branch, and although I'm only going by the commits about it, I think we can tell a few things. Yes, I may be going off on a tandem here, but as Rust's road system is mostly procedurally generated, it has the tendency to be a bit fragmented, chaotic, and nonsensical, and although this could be seen as analogous with the way many play the game, I think the aim is to actually produce a landscape that makes sense. We can see this in the non-procedurally generated Happis map, for instance, which, oh look, has a ring road. A couple of tweaks in the commits that were particularly interesting, I thought, were that certain monuments, such as the gas station, sperm kits, and warehouses, are being moved to a roadside monument folder, which I presume means they'll appear along them instead of at the ends. And this makes more sense, I guess. Also, and this one comes with a trigger warning. Looks like soon you'll no longer be able to build or place deployables on roads, which sucks for those who currently like to create toll booths, but that I reckon we'll need if roads are going to be used for their intended purpose and driving on. Oh, and don't forget, the old roadmap from over a year ago, but which is no longer accessible, mentioned that Bradley would eventually be able to traverse the island's road system. I'd like to know what you think about this one, so please vent in the comments. Seems like a ring road won't be the only shake-up to procedural map generation soon, with all sorts of things being tweaked and moved around at the moment, such as which large monuments and prefab mountains are placed on maps depending on size, and I'm sure I'll have a lot more to tell you soon. Apparently, on Thursday the 23rd of this month, we'll be getting a mandatory update. Not a forced wipe, as far as I know, but probably because the Lunar New Year starts on the 25th, it's going to be to do with that. You may remember last year they added a mask, lantern, and knockers for it, and the speculation is that this time it will include fireworks. Not the type you can raid with, but more the type you see people on YouTube trying to fire up their trousers and stuff. Don't do this, by the way. Neither should you return to a lit one, but that's another story for another time. Native support for MIDI files is here, at least on staging at the moment. Sort of. And the way you should be able to use it is with the instruments.playRecording command. So first of all, I believe you have to put your MIDI files in the instruments folder of your Rust install directory. Then with an instrument in hand, run the command in console with the name of the file after it. Although at the time of recording this, it seems to be completely broken, so I can't demonstrate it. Sorry. Maybe next week. There is, however, now on staging a sustain pedal support option in the experimental settings menu, which allows support for that function from a MIDI device. Nice. In other news this week, a temporary ban ability is being added with a new optional parameter that can be put on the end of the ban/ban ID command to specify how long their time on the naughty step should be. For instance, it can be 5M for 5 minutes, 2W for 2 weeks, 3D for 3 days, or is that decades, or alternatively a Unix timestamp, and all of these are saved to the file bans.cfg. You should also only be able to pick up SAM turrets now after taking the ammo out, and this should prevent it being lost, which had happened before. In works in progress, there's more work on skeleton optimization, friend grouping, which apparently adds support for Steam friends list grouping when in a team, This is enabled by default, but can be disabled with the global.rich presence convar. There's a life stats UI coming, which will tell you more about your achievements and failures, such as resource collection and animal kills. And finally, it seems like the long-awaited update to farming is beginning to sprout again, with a branch called Farming 2 and commits related to fertilizer and a composter. Certainly food for thought, but what's yours and how do you feel about Rust's start to the year? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks to one of my stunning patrons, I have a server running with my name on it at the moment. Thanks, Midzace. It would be good to get a few people to call it their home, so I'll shove the details in the description and pinned comment below. I'll be popping on and off there to do stuff too, so you might see me. Come and join me on Twitch, where I stream 3 times a week. Also Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and my Steam group, and I shall catch you all very soon. But in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.
All right, cheerio, Brian. Interesting update there from Rust. Not a whole lot, as we're still in the post-holiday season. Only a couple weeks past New Year's.
People are still ramping up.
Yeah, a lot of people that can't take time off at Christmas, take the week after Christmas and New Year's off. That if they had to work those couple weeks, so everything probably getting back here to normal, and they're working on some stuff. The MIDI stuff is cool, and some of those other things over there on the test servers. So we'll keep you up to date with what's going on with Rust from our friend Shadowfrax.
Very good. One thing I was going to mention, I've been saying this the last couple weeks, but Atlas, still no updates.
My prediction,
which I keep hoping. Huh?
My prediction wasn't it that they'd be gone by the end of the year? I mean, didn't you write it down? I'm pretty sure my prediction was that Atlas would be end of life by the end of 2019, which I was clearly wrong about. But I mean, they might as well be, right? They're not actively doing anything on it.
They don't seem to be actively developing it.
I mean, it's been, 3 weeks since they've released any sort of update? And they've broken their servers. Somebody recommended that, in our Discord? Was it somewhere else? They were like, oh, let's do Atlas for Game of the Week.
Okay, you said, so here, Nick, you were incorrect. By the end of 2019, Atlas will announce moonlighting, servers, and restructuring. Or some moonlighting / and then also server restructuring. Well, we'll see.
I would say I was at least 40% right.
Possibly. I mean, except for
if the company stops releasing updates, do I win? Is it technically moonlighting if they stop releasing updates? Do I win? Do I get a prize, a consolation prize?
I don't know. Who knows? They'll probably release some little patch. I'm still waiting for them to fix Linux servers.
Yeah, well, there was somebody that asked us to do that for Game of the Week, and you're like, not until we can spin up a server.
Not until they make it to where we can, we can't spin up a server right now. It's broken.
Super lame.
Yeah. So that is, that's the current state of Atlas. Outlaws of the Old West. This is a game we haven't been talking a ton about lately, but they have released a couple of patches here. They put out their 1.2.11 patch. This was Howdy Outlaws, and they had their just a couple of features, an event. They ended that Bigfoot hunt event that a lot of people were playing. That actually raised their numbers quite a bit. There's been people playing it lately. I think their numbers have gone up some. Then they have just some fixes in here. I've been tempted to come in and just kind of try it out because we haven't played it in some time. And I know I saw Donnie was in there playing it a bit. So I've been very tempted to jump in and just kind of see, how much has it been fixed? Is it really, because it's a good concept. I mean, I've said for a long time, it'd be nice to have a decent multiplayer, kind of a Western feel of a game. And, this one is, I've been saying it since then. And I
wish I could tell when this image was from. This is an old image.
Yeah, it is.
It's
well, it was
ago.
Well, it's when I grew my beard out for.
Was PAX East? Was that the first PAX East? That was just over 3 years ago.
Yeah, so that was 3 years ago. So I'm still waiting for my multiplayer Western game.
You look like such a jackass in this picture. It's fantastic.
Thanks.
Because you're like, you must have been listening to something that I was saying, and it's fantastic. So their peak player over the past week was 360, which doesn't sound like a lot, but over the past month, that's a high. So
recently there's been some people checking it out.
Yeah, according to Steam Spy, there's less than 200,000 owners, which for an MMO is not a lot, saying like less than 1% of your player base actually plays the game. It's not got great reviews. Do you realistically think a game like this being developed by a smaller group will ever have legs, or does somebody like Rockstar or Bethesda or EA or Activision have to do this?
I think that someone has to come in and like give it serious features. I think these guys are bringing them in too slowly. This is the downside of early access, big open world stuff. Like when you trickle content in, people are never wowed.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
I mean, you're not wowed by, we added a new horse. That's not wow. But when you play Red Dead Redemption for the first time and all of the new horses are there, it's like, holy crap, this is amazing. Yeah.
I think that this is kind of an example of it's not always best to do early access for all games.
But you can't afford to not do early access. That's the issue.
Well, because there's too many games coming out and it's too much of a gamble of whether or not people are actually going to buy your game anymore.
You've got some experience in this. What was your, without getting too crazy into it, what was your team's conclusion?
I pretty much came to the conclusion that right now is a really bad time to release. But right now is to push a really bad time. The economy's doing great, which is great, right?
Yeah.
But for small teams, early access, it's bad because the big studios are pushing out. They've got money right now. They know that people have money to spend. And so they're putting all their money into creating these big AAA games. And they're pushing them out fast. I mean, look at how many AAA level games that we've had in the past year. With Red Dead Redemption, even like that, a huge game. Well, we have a GTA coming out soon. We've got a lot of big ones on the horizon, and we've had some pretty big ones. Even Apex Legends. I mean, there was a pretty big budget that went into make that game what it was, and they didn't do the whole early access thing the same way. They released a fairly complete game because they're a big studio and they had the budget to do it. There's not a small game right now that can compete with someone like Apex Legends or with Fortnite. It's not going to happen and have all those features day one. So I think that right now is a really bad time. And, I've had people even in my Discord for my how-to channel saying, hey, are you looking at releasing anything soon? No, not until the economy goes down. And not until these big studios stop pumping out games because they have a huge budget and access to tons of people. And there's a drought in video games where people are willing to give a small game a chance and actually see it through for a bit. Right now, people aren't willing to see it through. They play it one day and they say, oh, this is broken. I'm going to go play another game. And they do. And I can't blame them for it. But when there's a drought, look what it did. It brought us H1Z1, which then brought some other games that, are pretty substantial now.
Ark, Rust.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that kind of came out of those droughts that I think we have to, when the droughts happen, it brings in a new style of game and it kind of helps the industry go forward. But times like this, it's getting it's pushing technology forward. This is more of you're releasing games that have, look at all the progressions even with Apex, with the way that they allowed you to tag and ping items and things like that. You get these big studios that bring in features and then they kind of steal from each other, and it raises the level of the overall product. And then you have the small studios coming in, releasing stuff that are doing things that haven't been done before. The big studios are improving what already exists a little bit, and the new studios try things that haven't been tried yet. And some of it works, some it doesn't.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I don't necessarily know how much of it is the economy. I think some of it is, but I also think the fact that and this isn't a shot at you, but every Tom, Dick, and Harry can be a game developer it was not that it was much hard. The barrier to entry in 2015 was a lot harder when we started this by the way, next week's our 5-year anniversary of the program. When we started this show 5 years ago, it was a whole hell of a lot harder to build a game. Unreal was not the engine that it is now with the store and the assets and the wide availability. Unity, I think probably back in 2015, Unity was probably the way to go. They seem to have kind of the indie community all behind them. But there's like a renaissance in game development. And you've got, you've got games like Fortnite that are showing that, hey, actually you can make an actual game on mobile, make some money with it. There's a whole bunch of factors. But I can tell you what, as much as I like cowboy games and like Westerns in general, I have no interest in playing Outlaws of the Old West. Yeah. Just because I know exactly what it is. It's a work in progress game, and I'm not interested in a work in progress. I'd rather not play a game than play a work in progress now. That's my personal opinion.
And we've talked about how right now the unemployment, it is a record low of any time in our lifetimes, right?
Yeah, definitely your lifetime, old man Aldridge.
Thank you. But if you look at when we really started getting into H1Z1 and all of this, that was in one of the worst parts of the economy, right? That was when a lot of people didn't have jobs, or there was a lot of stuff going on for people. And now people are working, and so their time is kind of precious to them. We know all about this. You're working a bunch. It's like, I've got a limited amount of time. I have time to play a game this week. So you want it to count. Where before there was a lot of people that didn't have jobs. There's a lot of people that were, didn't have the hours. They weren't working a lot of extra hours. So they were home. And games like H1Z1 made sense then. But you know what? Right now it doesn't. I think right now the trend is to have these kind of packaged games that you can play for half an hour, and then, go spend time with your family or go do something else or go to work.
And as much a hype as there was behind the new old WoW coming out, or the old new WoW coming out, how much have you heard people talking about WoW Classic?
I haven't touched it in a long time.
I haven't heard
anybody talking about it either.
It's different.
The times have changed. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking 1990. About. If you look at what was happening at the time with some of these things, people have put a lot more time into these games, and people don't have the patience right now to do that. It's hard to have a hardcore game like that people are willing to dump hours and hours and hours of their day in consistently, of their life into it.
I want to thank our friend Battery Included for cheering us on here with a couple thousand bits here on Twitch. We appreciate that. But also, Brian, what is, I think, even a bigger factor into this, and I know we're beating the dead horse, but it's what we do. When WoW came out and when Guild Wars came out, those were the first of their kind. So you would get engulfed in these games because you've never done anything like that before. You've never played anything like that before. If you play we just talked about Xera. I mentioned how I'm disappointed with Xera. You load up Xera for the first time, you've already played Xera. You've already played it. You've played it 10 other times. You've played it 50 other times with all of these other similar style games. And it's tough for me, and I know a lot of other people, to essentially replay a game.
Yeah.
I mean, you played WoW from the beginning. Nothing like that had ever existed before.
Yeah, it was new.
Same thing with Fortnite. Fortnite did.
I think that's what it comes down to. There could be a Western game that comes out, but it has to be polished day one, where when people go in there say, this is new. Like,
I've played this.
Yeah, I've never played this before. One thing people, I think, want is not the whole open world, endless story, no story thing. I think people are kind of over now. People want to have characters and people they identify with, and story throughout. And I think that a lot of the open world survival games are based on, you don't know what's happening. Like I've sat down and come up with, for instance, for Ark, like I have a whole backstory that they could put in there very easily and make Ark wrap up into a nice story. And it's always driven me crazy that they have never put a point to Ark. Like there's no objective. There's no way that it's going.
You.
It bothers me so much.
Yeah,
it's bothered me for years, and it. As like I've mentioned it over the years. I have a I have a full story written.
To say I could care less is an understatement of how little I care. It does not matter. It has never even crossed my mind.
Me. So I have a whole story written for it. I have a whole story that wraps up the whole thing.
You should write a fan fiction.
It hasn't even a conclusion for their final DLC to wrap it all up.
Okay, well, where's the fan fiction? Biteatech.com.
I'd rather have them just take it and because you don't want it to be a surprise. Like, dude, there's a whole story that'll wrap it up. It makes everything make sense up to this point, and you can wrap it up in a bow and have a final conclusion. It
Brian,
just drives me crazy.
You need a DeviantArt so that you can put your fan fiction up on DeviantArt.
I sat down for a half an hour. I was able to write
biteoftech.deviantart.com. Check it out. Brian's fan fiction on Ark with graphic images.
Oh, now I have to draw some graphic. That helps. But still little stuff like that. Like these guys, they go in making a thing. How much have they really? Like, I mean, you look at Ark. That's what drives me crazy. Is they hint at stories like these things you're unlocking. No one cares. You're not actually telling any of the story. No one knows. No one knows what's happening on Ark. There's nobody. And I don't think anybody at their studio has any clue about what's actually happening at Ark. I don't think they put that much thought into it. And that's what drives me crazy. It's like you keep releasing content that's nowhere linked to one another. And then you're like, oh, we're going to release a new expansion that does this, this, and this. Well, they don't tie together whatsoever. There's still nothing that actually ties it all together.
Except dinosaurs. It's crazy. That's about the only story piece that is
all right.
Somewhat
do you want a hint at what my overarching story is?
Your overarching story? Absolutely.
Okay, so pun intended. All right. So if you look at what if let's say there was a huge nuclear disaster that happened on the Earth, right?
Yeah.
And to try to save humanity, we escape to the moon, right? They build a base on the moon, and civilization, there's a remaining piece of civilization that is on the moon. So there's technology up there. We have pretty much an archive of DNA records, things like that.
Okay.
So over a long period of time, they're on the moon. They're working on this technology, ways to recreate creatures from DNA, similar to Jurassic Park, right? Where they're able then to they're then able to seed the Earth. So the Earth, it's starting to recover from the nuclear devastation. Whatever natural disaster destroyed it, you can fill that in however you want, right? And then, so what they're doing is starting to seed Earth again. So they're using these. They have these things drop down that are able to, using digital genetic information, create creatures from resources that it's gathering from the Earth itself, right? So then they're populating, putting dinosaurs, having things start to populate the Earth, and they want to do it to where it naturally happens. They're not going to do it like Jurassic Park, to where they're saying this creature is going to be here, this creature. They want to see how it naturally unfolds. They're just putting things out there. That's pretty much the base, like the original Ark, right? You have all these creatures are coming out. Then they start seeding humans in to see where they naturally flow. Now, you could have it to where as you progress, civilization happens. Then let's say that there's a disaster that happens up on the moon, right? I'm talking about coming into the final expansion of Ark. You have you have a disaster that happens to where it risks cutting off the ability to continue seeding the Earth, right? And so your goal for the last expansion is to somehow build a rocket ship or some sort of craft that gets you up to the moon, and that is the final DLC. Is actually you going and fixing and rebuilding the base up on the moon so that you can continue to have civilization move on the Earth.
So I appreciate your passion. I really do.
Well, there you go. That's the story.
Okay, and I don't mean to rain on your parade or poo-poo your idea, because that's not what I'm doing.
They're never going to do it.
No. You're missing it. That has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
They currently have about 34,000 people playing the game right now. Mm-hmm. Do you realistically think anybody else do you think they will have more players because of a story like that they introduce? Would you personally play more of the game because of that story? I think the answer is no.
If I had an objective, yes, I would.
I don't believe that. I really don't. I don't think right now, it's not going to be the whole game, because the game is still going to be the game, and there's going to be
still have the game. It can continue on, but if you want to progress to a map that doesn't exist, it would be a way to push people to get to kind of like the top tier on public servers, because to get to that, and then you would have a way to have a map that if you wanted to have one that resets, they had the whole asteroid thing, You could have that be to where if you're able to get up there, it resets the world and Ark starts over. First one there gets some special skin, something that's unique, something that's rare. People do a lot of stuff for that kind of thing.
Well, I'll say it again. People are saying that Microsoft is making decisions based on the program. People are saying that Z1 Exceed are making decisions based on what they heard on the program. So if Ark comes out, Brian, with some overarching story, I think total vindication.
Well, we'll see. But I'm saying, yeah, and Hanny's saying, some games like that shouldn't have win states. I'm not saying that every public server needs to have a win state, but they've been trying to come up with these timed ones where worlds reset.
Yeah.
There's a way to have the world reset, not have it be a meteor's coming down. Have it be a goal that you're actually trying to accomplish something. The first person to accomplish it gets a reward.
Was it Rend that was trying to do that? The first faction that won
Rend
got.
Yeah.
What happened?
It gave them a bonus going into the next one.
The next event. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You could have it where people could have a harvest bonus. Whoever won, if you were a part of whatever thing that happened at the end, you made it to the base and you were part of repairing it, then you get something that gives you a bonus going into the next one. You could do stuff like that. It's just, that's what Ark is fun, but they hint at lore and they hint at story, but then they never actually make anything. Even the lore pieces that you find are a made up language that just is gunk. There's no actual anything being told. So I don't know. That's just, it drives me crazy. So
clearly.
Yeah. All right.
So when you think about that when you're falling asleep at night?
I was sitting in the shower thinking about this actually, and it was just driving me crazy. And so I started coming up with the overall story. I was like, dude, this would wrap up the whole thing so that for their DLCs, so it made sense. You could still have these open-ended worlds, but you could also have. Remember, they have Ascension with the original Ark of the Island. They had the Ascension thing. Never went anywhere. Nothing happened with that.
Yeah. Brian
I don't
was
sit in the shower. Actually, I was standing in the shower thinking.
Brian has a bar of soap, and he gets so aggravated that when the bar leaves, it's just all in the middle. It's all crushed in the end. Yeah. Because he's got so anxiety ridden about the Ark story. This guy goes through a bar of soap a day, thinking about the Ark story in the shower.
Yeah.
Got a real problem.
I know. Anyways, all right. So let's talk a little PUBG.
Okay.
So they concluded they have been doing those labs where they have a limited time kind of a test of something. Well, they finished the report for the motor glider.
Cool.
And so one thing that with their new launch of season 6, they said the motor glider will be available on Erangel and Miramar. It will have 2 seats, one for the pilot, one for a passenger, who can shoot any weapon from the back seat that they would like. It's going to be spawned around the map. You have to get up to 65 kilometers per hour to be able to take off. And if you hit 70, you'll take off automatically. It's the fuel consumption rate is tied to the engine speed. So if you're gunning it constantly, you'll run out of gas sooner. Some will be spawned with empty gas, or they all will be spawned with, empty gas. And then you have to find fuel to be able to start them. There's no maximum altitude that you can reach. The sky's the limit, which I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's true. I'd be very surprised if there was not an actual physical limit that you can fly. Being that their world, I think, has an actual limit to the size of it, but we will see. I'm sure people will test that out.
Yeah, I do want to thank our friend Gadlaw for hitting us up with some cheers here on Twitch. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Hey, we got some breaking news. I can't play. I don't have my soundboard anymore. I've got some breaking PUBG news, Brian.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to decommission the tablet too. So they just teased a new map. It's called. Oh, okay. It's called Carrick. No, that's not you. That's how would you pronounce that? Karrakin?
Probably Karrakin. Or Kraken or Karrakin.
Karrakin or Karrakin. I hate.
I'm
Twitter.
looking to see it. They don't say it. It just says spelled out. So
yeah, let me see. The media cannot be played. Twitter is. So there it is. Kararakan is the new Kararakan is the new map coming soon. There are, let's see, I was reading a report. Where did I see that it might replace? It'll likely replace Vekendi or whatever that current map is. It starts with a V. I don't know how they pronounce that. It's likely to replace that. So they tweeted out today that that's coming soon, and that new map is rotating out when Season 6 begins, but not permanently. You can still play in custom matches. More info on that soon. So
well, and today, okay, so just for a little bit of input on this, today Season 5 ended on PC.
Mm-hmm.
On console, it ends on the 21st.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. They'll have their new season pass that starts today. And then they'll be giving out the rewards. So
yep. It says the new map is to be set in North America or the Middle East, and the map it'll be two by two.
Is it North America or the Middle East? I mean, they're practically the same place. I mean,
well, yeah, I don't know how.
There's no more information than that. Are they looking at the fact that this could be a desert? They're just basing it on the picture that we just saw, that it's a desert. So it could be North America or the Middle East, or it could be Australia, or it could be almost 50% of anywhere else on the
Okay,
earth.
well, this is what the article, I'm not a journalist, this is what PC Games N is reporting. And it says that it's going to feature a mechanic which pretty much wipes everything out inside the black zone, which would be an area on the map, which indicates why that missile is being dropped, which may explain what that rocket is. So,
okay.
Interesting. New map. Breaking news. Right here on the program.
And of course, one of the top comments on Twitter is, how about stopping cheaters first? So, there you go.
Yeah.
Gotta love. So now we were talking about Ark a moment ago. They released a patch this week, 304.44. Fixes like unattach all grapple hooks when sitting on a chair. They disabled climbing picks from attaching to gate frames, lanterns, ladders, fence foundations, and railings. And then they had a whole list of fixes that they have done in this patch. Another thing that they had announced is that they're actually shutting off a lot of their legacy servers. So they're going to be removing those due to server population. But of course, they have all this cross arc stuff, so you can actually transfer your character if you are on one of those servers. But it's a list of, I mean,
well, the PvP. I saw the PvE list and I was like, oh, there's only a couple servers. And then I scroll down to legacy PvP. Jesus, there's like, there must be three. Well, I mean, I guess we can look. There must be 300 servers that they're decommissioning.
Yeah, I mean, it's hundreds of servers. So
I'll copy this into Notepad and see what we find.
So those will be so those will be going away. But you can, they have all the cross arc stuff to migrate off to something else. Of course, you can only go if you're PvE. You can only go to PvE. If you're PvP, you can go to PvP.
So there's a couple spaces. 425.
So about 400-ish.
Yeah,
probably.
I'd say probably about 400 servers are shutting off. That's a lot. And obviously they're making room for the new DLC. So for the new DLC, they'll be able to spin up 400 servers and not have to.
Or maybe they need these for the big Atlas relaunch that they're getting ready to do.
Possible. But think about that. Imagine the server cost of operating 400 servers with low population.
Yeah.
You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars.
This was my big thing I brought up talking about Atlas. It's like, how are they going to continue
they don't
hosting this ridiculous thing?
Yeah. I mean, they only have what? Two servers per world, right? It's PvE or one, right? Or no, it's Europe and US for PvP and PvE.
So that's 4 servers.
Well, yeah, but then inside of it, there's like
but then in that, it's like 1,000 servers. It's just ridiculous for barely any players. So
yeah.
Well, I think that's all the news.
Cool, we did it.
But what about the game union? Did you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, I wanted to mention this. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago, maybe at this point. There's a game union, the GMG union, which is part of the Writers Guild of America. And a lot of the guys that work, who owns whoever owns Kotaku and Gizmodo and like Deadspin, that group. I don't know what
Geo Media is that
something like Go Media, I think is what it is. Something
Go,
like
yeah. G/O is what they.
Yeah. So there's a union that all of those workers are part of. And they submitted a letter to the CEO of that group saying that they have no faith and are pretty much saying they'd like to have him. They're voting of no confidence, which essentially means that they want to have him removed, which sounds great, but to show the ineffectiveness of unions, all of the workers have signed a no strike and no lockout clause, which means they have no bargaining. They can't. If they don't show up to work, they'll get fired, but they can't strike because they had already, part of their union was a no strike clause. Yeah. So they wrote this letter, but there's nothing there because they have no leverage. They could all quit, but then none of them will have jobs.
Oh, here, it says, which now owns Ghost, G/O Media. So they say that here.
Yeah, but they don't have they can't strike. So they've got a union.
I think they're hoping that percentages will, they're saying 97% of the staff says this one thing, please listen to us, is pretty much what they're saying.
Yeah, but we have no leverage, so just listen to us, which of course they're not going to, because that's not how it works. You don't give the keys to the inmates. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting as we've continued to follow this as of late. And I thought it was interesting that they wrote a letter but have no leverage to hold over this guy's head. And I mean, I don't know. The guy probably a total scumbag. I have no idea. But the point is, it's just words. There's literally nothing they can do besides lose their jobs. So,
well, it'll be interesting to see if anything actually comes of this.
No, it won't. I guarantee you. I mean, you can change your Twitter avatar all you want, but I mean that doesn't cause things to change.
The recent motivation of them like putting crazy amounts of ads and things on this,
and the cross-site linking stuff, and
I assume that this is kind of maybe some of the overall leaders of the company pushing to do those things, which are really affecting people's perception of these sites.
Yeah, because they're not making any money.
Go on there. Yeah. Well, what's the alternative? Write better. Okay, you guys are the editorial staff. You want to make it so they don't have to do that? How about you actually write things that people want to read and it not be all clickbait? Because when it's all clickbait, all you care about is the initial impression of them landing on the page and loading an ad, not them actually reading the whole article. And I think it's turned into, when 97% of your articles are clickbait, well, they've got to now make money based on the clickbait version of it, because no one's going to continue reading their article once they see that it's just a bunch of BS.
Yeah, I mean, like this is the front page of Kotaku right now. One article about a Square Enix thing with Final Fantasy. That's cool. Some Tekken style health bars make watching Taekwondo so much better. Cosplaying politician elected in Taiwan. Help, crumbs in my bed making me crazy. Tuesday's best deals. Pokemon cake episode on Food Network is a glorious mess. McDonald's Japan introduces adult cream pie. I mean, this is
gaming news.
This is the front page of Kotaku, and they're wondering why people don't go here.
Yeah,
there's not a single article on here that I have any interest in even thinking about. Well,
and you even saw that we posted, or we showed a video a month ago, where at the awards for video game journalists, they were ripping on these guys, saying these are not real journalists. Like, they are ruining the industry. Yeah. Them and people like them are making this place not respectable anymore. And they said, we are the real journalists, and these guys are trying to come and steal this whole thing from us. They want to be real journalists, but you don't want to know the secret? They're not, because they don't act like real journalists. They don't write like real journalists. They don't actually investigate anything. When your biggest amount of investigation is you turned on the Cartoon Network and you watch the show and you write an opinion about it, that is not investigative journalism. But that for them is.
Well, and to be fair, I'm not necessarily looking for investigative journalism, but just write something when 90%
of it's opinion piece. But the thing is, when 90% of your stuff's opinion, which is what it turned into, opinion doesn't matter. There's very little facts that have to go into an opinion piece.
Let me tell you what really gripes my ass. The second story, this one, Tekken-style health bars make watching Taekwondo so much better. It's titled under news.
Yeah.
It's not news. This is not a news piece. There's nothing here. This is
that about martial arts. Added afterwards? Didn't they add that afterwards?
I have no freaking clue. It's a click. It's not news. Why is this tagged under news on their website? News. It's right here. Kotaku.com/category/news.
I just don't know how you could put a health bar on somebody, a real person, and know when they're going to fall.
Now, this one is news. Destiny 2 players are hard at work puzzling over mysterious symbols. That's news. That's actual gaming news. That's cool.
Something is happening right now.
Yeah. The Pokemon Cake episode of Food Network Challenge is a glorious mess is not news.
Yeah.
It's not. Some of this stuff on here is news. Minecraft player gets electrocuted every time he takes damage. That's not news either. Jesus Christ. I don't get it. The only decent article on here that I have any interest in reading is by somebody I actually like, Jason Schreier, and it's with PlayStation 5 on the way, Sony will skip E3 again. That's actually an interesting article, but it's buried. Yeah. The only interesting article on Kotaku's website is buried. It's not even on the homepage. Instead, they have Netflix's new reality show about catfishing is itself a catfish. Kotaku.com.
Which is an opinion. But it's on news.
I don't get it, Brian.
Yeah. I mean, it's a mess. So that's why I really could care less what they think. They're ruining the industry. I'm not hoping that their union makes it, because they're some of the worst staff. It wouldn't be the end of the world if that company went out of business.
What is, there's a gaming blog that is self-funded by a Patreon. Do you remember? It's by a YouTuber. Do you remember the name of it? It's called
Exclusively
Games. Yes, Exclusively Games. That's a decent site.
Games.
It's they've got some similar clickbaity stuff, but that's a legitimate gaming blog.
But they'll talk about, they'll give like reviews of games. They'll talk about issues with current games. Like, for instance, on their Monster Hunter World, Iceborne is deleting saves. Okay, well, that's relevant for people that play that game. They have an article talking about the new MMO that Amazon, that we've talked about, is getting ready to release. So, I mean, they have on there, it's not just all clickbaity. You get in there, it's telling you what you're gonna read. It's not some clickbait. Oh, this is news, and then it ends up just being an opinion piece.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is most of these have become opinion pieces, and it's all about their politics or whatever thing that they want to push at this time. That's what's in the article, and it's like the actual game that they're talking about has very little to do with the article. Is what I've found recently.
It's a shame.
Yeah,
it's a shame. So now, I tell you what, where you're not going to find anything like that? Dudeandit.com.
That's right. You will not find any clickbaity articles.
Yeah. And I may or may not tell people at the end of my article my advisement, which, is absolutely my opinion, but, that's what I said. It's my advisement.
Nice. All right. Are we ready to, I think we're almost done, ready to wrap this up.
Oh yeah, we are well over wrapping it up. Should we do current players?
Yep. Go right ahead.
All right. I think I'm all ready for my music this week. Let's see if this works. I don't hear it. Oh, there we go. Hey, hi. My name is Nick Craig. Welcome to Current Players. We're switching things up here. Brian, for the first time in a very long time, H1Z1, King of the Kill, and that's not what it's called, but the current players for this game is it's seen a recent resurgence, 1,976 people currently playing. The 24-hour peak and 7-day peak are the same. It was actually today, and that's 5,315. So a little bit of a resurgence with H1Z1, Z1, Battle Royale, whatever they are deciding to call that game these days. Let's take a look at Ark, currently playing 33,786. The 24-hour peak, 52,899. The 7-day peak, 70,449. Pretty incredible there. Even more incredible is Rust, currently playing 41,911. The 24-hour peak, 55,566, with a 7-day peak of 85,482. And finally, wrapping us up, 7 Days to Die, currently playing 13,811. The 24-hour peak, 16,728, with a 7-day peak of 24,882. And Brian, that is, if I can figure out how to stop it, current players. Ooh, that was abrupt. Hold on.
Whoa. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, yeah.
You got this.
One of these days, we'll figure it out. I've got a new controller coming for next week's show. It's a MIDI controller. Actually, I'll probably bring in Rust too. It's a MIDI controller. It'll help me control the audio levels a little bit better.
All right.
So stay tuned for that. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Next week on Infection Podcast.
5-year anniversary.
All right. That's right. Special show. New equipment.
Yeah. No
same
special.
Old guys. Yeah. All right. So if you want to, let's go ahead and let's do tip of the week.
Oh, what's that?
Well, either I go through a general gaming tip or one that, for a specific game. And it's one that we've been playing quite a bit lately. A lot of people have been playing, and that's Ark. So that will be tip of the week. Well, in Ark, taming animals is one thing that can be one of the most difficult areas of Ark, but there are some strategies that you can do to help make that a little bit easier, especially as you get some of the more difficult animals. For the smaller ones, one easy way to really kind of get that jump started is using bolas. You can craft bolas at a fairly early level. You can wrap up, especially when you're getting your first, I got the proper pronunciation, it was a pteranodon. We've been saying pterodon for I don't know how long. When I looked it up, it's pteranodon.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah, it's pteranodon. The way that they do it in the game is pteranodon. We've been saying pterodon for how long? It's pteranodon.
4.5 years since the game came out.
I was like, oh, I better start pronouncing this correctly.
Where did you see this?
Well, we pulled it up. I went and pulled it up and was like, what's the pronunciation of the way that they spell it in Ark? And it's pteranodon. So people will be like, what? What's a pteranodon? Pterodon. Okay. So anyway, so you can use bolas on those. So maybe you get a high level one, because the second you start shooting them with trank arrows and things like that, they fly away and can be very difficult. But with a bola, you can get them pretty quickly. But as you move up to some of the bigger ones, especially some of the big dinosaurs that can't be bola'd, that's where you need to start looking at like cages and different contraptions that you can make to catch these animals. Because either maybe it's a flying animal, maybe it's a land-based animal, but you can build with using gates. You can have it to where you can lead a creature into the base or into the little building that you've made, and then have a way to exit, either using openings in the walls or a door at the other end, and then you can get them trapped in there, knock them out, and then that creates a nice little area that you can then tame the animal in as well, because sometimes creatures will come along and be in some crazy areas, and you'll have creatures coming and attacking your tame, which is never fun. But if you leave them in there, close it behind you, and you can do this with even giant. We've done this with Rexes. You can do it with big dinosaurs as well, and it really makes it a lot easier. And even making ones that you can fly some of the griffins and things like that into to trap them and tame them. So that is just a tip if you're looking for an easy way to, because Ark is all about taming and getting a better dinosaur to help you accomplish newer things. And that is a way to do it. So that's your tip of the week.
I wish you would have done that a couple weeks ago, because I tried taming a couple Carnos. I said, everybody else on the server is making traps. I'm just going to tame it with a large rock that I can find and have my bird sit on top of it until the Carno can glitch up the rock and eat me and my bird, which is what happened.
That's how it works.
Then I decided, okay, after getting killed 3 times and losing 3 tames, I decided I'll build a trap, tamed it first time, and then it got eaten by something else. So then I stopped playing Ark. It's been a good life cycle.
But if you're looking to, this is stuff that usually the beginning players don't know about, but it makes it so much easier, especially if you're solo playing.
Which is what I was doing, which is why it was so imperative for me to make the trap, because I couldn't lure another dinosaur away if it came up to try to attack me. It was very complicated. So, awesome.
All right, we ready for the game giveaway?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and close this, and we will draw. So, congratulations, Ferment, old-time listener. And I will send you a message with the key so you can redeem it. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Thanks everybody else for joining us as well. We are here live every Tuesday on Mixer, Twitch, and YouTube. And if you missed part of the show, as you see a couple of people coming in throughout the program, you can always catch our VOD. We actually do YouTube timestamps, which we've gotten lots of positive comments about. Brian wrote us a little application where you can go through.
I need to finish that too.
Yeah, we need to work on that. Whatever, we'll find some time.
Well, we can do it,
Ferment says literally the first time I've ever won anything out of any raffles or competitions. Hey, Infection Podcast is the first for something. Not much, but for something. So yeah, if you miss a portion of the show and you're like, oh, I want to hear them talk about the new H1Z1 project, there's a timestamp on YouTube, and it corresponds with the audio format as well. So you can scroll to that time on your podcast app and get it as well. All right, Very Brian. Good. Thank you. I know you're feeling a little bit under the weather, but thank you.
Hey, we made
it. Yes, sir. And where can people find you on the net?
Well, if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, or check out my blog, biteoftech.com, and make sure you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. If you notice on the right-hand side there, there is join our server on Discord, and that will allow you to submit news throughout the week. If you want to participate, we have 6 ARC servers going right now. If you want to join in and play on some of those, you can do that. And just a lot of people hanging out and talking throughout the week as well. We have our Steam group. If you want to get a notification before the live show starts, you can do that through using that. We have links to our YouTube, our Twitch, and our Mixer. So if you want to watch us live or watch a video form on there, we have all of our audio forms in the lower right-hand side, and then show notes now for 261 episodes. So you can go and check out any of the things referred to today. If you want to help support the channel, on the left-hand side, there's a Support Us tab, but also go to amazon.infectionpodcast.com. You can go to Humble for Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is humble.infectionpodcast.com. And of course, you can come onto Twitch and do what a lot of people do, is give us your Twitch Prime subscriptions through there, and that pays for packs, and we get money from that every single month that we then save up and use for our annual outing.
Yes, where we act as industry professionals.
That's right.
And do nothing that would ever indicate
mar the name of
the Infection Podcast. We would not be wearing Infection Podcast things out and making idiots of ourselves on the streets.
Yeah, we take those shirts off.
We would never do anything like that. So Brian, thank you very much.
Yeah.
See you next week. 5 years.
Very good. Yeah.
I'm excited. Good. I mean, it's just gonna be a regular show, but 5 years doing a show, so that'll be cool.
Yep.
Are we gonna? Should we wear a hat or something like a?
Oh, no, I don't feel like it. But
okay, well,
we'll discuss it,
ladies and gentlemen. Brian doesn't want to play dress up on the show, so his problem, not mine. True. Send emails, brian@infectionpodcast.com. Thank you, Brian. Oh, by the way, we're playing Rocket League Friday night, so hopefully you'll join us in our Discord 8 o'clock for that. And Mr. Brian, we will see you next week.
Very good. Thank you.
Alrighty, folks. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. If you want to check out my personal blog, dudein.it.com, wrote a great article about Thanks for the Memories Windows 7, as today is the last day of that operating system. Of course, you can check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. If you missed any portion of the show, videos, show notes, links, images, everything else is on our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.